Hey, this is Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pump, the Big Bad Booty Daddy, and you listen to IcoPod, the best podcast going today. Holler if you hear me.
And we're back with episode 82 of IcoPod. I'm Bob Collian Jr. And with me, as always, is Austin Skinner. Austin, how it be this week?
Well, by the time everybody's hearing this, it might be a little bit behind. But I am preparing for a Category 3 hurricane here in Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, man. Not Hurricane Helms either.
Oh, no. Hurricane Dorian is off the coast, the east coast of the state currently, scheduled to hit me in about 2 to 3 days. And they're talking it up pretty good. I mean, I'm not super worried about it because my apartment's in a relatively, how would you say, important area because I'm right near like the theme parks, and those are always the first things to go back up. So I'm sure I'll lose power for just a little while, maybe half a day or so. But yeah, they're really promoting it down here, and it's so funny because last night, you know, for the hell of it, I ran out to the dollar store just to grab a couple of things. The place was fucking packed, absolutely packed. So I said, okay, fuck this. I went down to it's Publix down here, which is like their Wegmans or their grocery store that's not Walmart. And I went into there. It wasn't as bad. But today, man, everything's been crazy. So, like, the Walmarts are crazy. Getting gas, there's, like, lines to get gas down here. So it's really weird, kind of a culture shock. I've never lived through a hurricane before, even when I grew up in North Carolina. Like, a tornado was the thing. But coming from the north, we don't get fucking hurricanes. So it's been a little bit of a learning curve the past couple of days. But, hey, either next time we record, I'm dead, and it's coming out after my death, and you're still getting to hear my voice, or I'm alive and well here in Orlando, Florida.
Well, that's uplifting.
L'chaim.
Optimism there is through the roof.
Yeah.
While we took a couple weeks off from recording, so we're kind of still in a real-time type of schedule here. It's August 29th, in case you're wondering. So when you're hearing this, we literally just recorded it a few days ago. I recently kind of had a health scare in the family, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I guess it was like last week. My father was rushed to the hospital. And it turns out that he had an irregular heartbeat, which in the grand scheme of things might not be overly serious. But they made it seem really serious, to a point where they like stopped his heart twice to try to get it back in rhythm as it should be. And unfortunately, it did not work. He is alive. He's not dead as a result of this, but he's in what they call AFib, and he'll likely be on blood thinners and all that stuff. It was probably one of the first times that I've ever seen my dad like in a weakened state like that.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask you, Bob, your dad's not the guy to go out and like go to the doctor, really, is he?
No, he is absolutely not. I remember growing up, like he would have a sore throat, which would end up being like strep throat or something. And then he'd be like 2 or 3 weeks in of just suffering with this cold, being like, it will go away. I just have to sleep it off. And it's like, yeah. I mean, if it's been going on for like a month, you might want to go get something. Like, no, it's all right. Luckily, though, this was a situation where like he left work because he just didn't feel right. He felt like his chest was going to like implode, as he said.
Oh.
And he tried to drive home, and then he had to pull over at a burned dairy by the state fair because he was not going to make it home. He thought I almost broke down because he broke down when he like described it, and he was like, I could have killed somebody. if he had like pushed it or if something had happened to him while in the car.
Or like downplayed it, because older guys, there's like a pride thing. Like my dad's the same way, where it's like, no, I'm fine. Like but like for him to pull over and realize it's a problem, like that's a big deal for an older guy.
Yeah, and I would say especially for my dad because he's very like, it's fine. I don't need any help. It's whatever. So, but yeah, I got like a phone call at, I don't know, 8:00 in the morning or so from my sister. And as soon as I saw that it was my sister, I knew something was up because number one, she never calls me. And let alone she never calls me at 8:00 in the morning.
Right.
So I was dreading that. And then she told me what was going on. So, but luckily my sister is a registered nurse. So she knows really what's going on. He was discharged like a day later. And then he actually went back in 2 days ago. Kind of the same kind of symptoms, but my sister got in contact with me and it's just like, he's fine. He just needs like the IV and stuff like that. So, Bob Conley Sr. should be quite all right, hopefully, moving forward. But that was definitely a scary moment for what I had to go through. But.
Yeah, and it's never fun either. Like, especially for parents, because the time clock's ticking. And especially in that case, man, getting phone calls, weird hours that you're not expecting, like that's the worst. That's the worst. So I am glad to hear that he's kicked out, he's kicked out at a 1 count, which is very good. I did not know that he was readmitted though. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was just the other day. And I mean, I trust my sister's judgment on it. That's why I wasn't nervous or freaked out about it.
Sure.
That's why I'm casually doing this podcast. So,
okay, all right.
Nothing to worry. But I know, I mean, sometimes we do our personal life on here, and I figured, hey, as much as we goof around and say silly shit, why not? As you mentioned with the hurricane, and then my father and his current situation, we can just give you guys an update as to where we are. Oddly enough, a couple of people, I know Ian Matthews was one of them. He's like, if Raw ever gets like kind of boring, like we should hear more about Bob's new girl.
Oh no!
And I thought that was hilarious.
Don't fuel that fire.
Yeah, because we could just make a whole podcast about her.
Well, we don't want to scare her away already.
I've been slowly getting her in to some aspects of wrestling. So like today's the first day I haven't seen her in like 4 or 5 days. But we've been talking, and I had to watch SummerSlam '99 for Wrestling 20 years ago, which is we're recording this Sunday.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go too much into this because we do have a show to do. But I was explaining to her a storyline that was going on at the time between Test and Shane McMahon, where Shane McMahon was pretty much being the ultimate cock block because he didn't want Test to bang Stephanie.
Sure.
And I explained it to her, and she was like, that sounds like good, wholesome family entertainment, which made me laugh because that was like the tagline for their Super Bowl commercial, like in '98.
Yeah, right.
Like Mankind's like your good, wholesome family entertainment, or whoever says it.
Right.
So that made me laugh. And then one more little story here is I was watching some Memphis '87. Shout out to Mike Campbell, one of the guys that enjoys talking about that stuff. I explained to her one of the storylines in that one, and this one's bizarre, and I wanted to talk about it here with you because I feel like you'll appreciate it.
Okay.
So this guy, Big Bubba, who we would know in terms of IcoPod years as Typhoon, he went by his Big Bubba, and he's feuding with a group of guys like Downtown Bruno, which was Harvey Whippleman. He's got a couple of guys like Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond, all these guys. And Bubba was associated with him for a minute, but then Bruno kind of got tired of him, and all these, they had a falling out. I'm watching the show, and out of nowhere, Lance Russell, Hall of Fame, world-renowned wrestling commentator, is like, well, ladies and gentlemen, we have some developments here about Big Bubba. He missed the matches this past weekend, and it turns out we found out what happened. He's a reliable guy, whether he was good or bad, whatever. Let's just go to the footage. Let's go to the footage. So Big Bubba's like in the woods with Randy Hales, And then Randy Hales is a hilarious, awkward guy. It's just
He's
tremendous.
a referee, right?
He might have been a referee at one point, but he's like a promoter, matchmaker guy for the area.
Okay.
And Big Bubba's like, yeah, I woke up 20 miles out of Hazard, Kentucky. And I was in an abandoned cabin. I was tied up for a day and a half. I gnawed at the ropes for all day and half a night, and I broke free, and I ran the 20 miles and found civilization. I broke free. And I know downtown Bruno is all about this. This is all downtown Bruno has something to do with it. And they go into this abandoned cabin, which is like a cabin you would see like on Red Dead Redemption.
What is this, Cold Case Files?
I don't know, man. It came out of, there's like no build up to it. It's like the immediate climax of what's going on. I have no idea. And they go into this abandoned. It's a house. There's nothing crazy in it. And so like they're in like the dining or the living room area. And then Bubba's like, let's go into this dungeon. And I'm thinking they're going to go into the basement or something.
Oh, yeah.
No, they just go to the next room over, which was like the family room. And he picks up one rope that's been cut. And he was like, this was the rope.
You gotta be shitting me.
No. And I'm just sitting here like, how is this? Number one.
The dungeon.
Number one, why would you go back?
Sure.
Number two, how does he possibly know how to get there? I don't understand any of this. And like, what?
And
Like,
number three, it's fucking Typhoon.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ, who manhandled him around and fucking roped him up?
Yeah, he didn't know. He doesn't know who they were. He just thinks that downtown Bruno was up to it, and he's sure that Paul Diamond and Pat Tanaka had something to do with it as well.
That's fucking ridiculous.
It was honestly
that sounds
hilarious.
Like some WCW 2000 shit.
For sure.
Like,
yeah.
You cut to fucking David Flair. And he's out in the woods, and he's like, I don't know what happened, but I've been in a cabin for 2 days. I got kidnapped, and I know it was Shane Douglas. No, it was him. Like, what the fuck?
He did it. I knew it was him this whole time.
That is bullshit.
It's tremendous. It was, highlight of my night.
Oh, the
all right.
classics.
Yeah. Let's kind of get into our show here. But before we get into observer notes and all that grand things here, we've completed the half year of WWF 94. We've made it through June. So as we did in 1993, it is time for us to do mid-year awards. We could have done them at the end of last year or last episode, but I figured, you know what, maybe we'll take our time, not burn through it, and we'll do it right now. So St. Austin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 categories. I can't remember how many we did at 93, but I would have to think, actually make it 8. I think I did 8 anyway. 8 categories in which we came up with, who we think was, excelling maybe in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
The first one would be manager of the half year. I feel like this is probably a no-brainer because there's a lot of mediocre ones.
Well, I mean, obviously I went with Jim Cornette.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with as well.
I mean, it's pretty hard to argue at this point. I mean, who are you gonna? Polo maybe, but like no.
You can't even say like Ted DiBiase because he's just starting.
Yeah, not him. And if you say Harvey Whippleman, fuck off.
Yeah. So
like he kind of wins by default.
Yeah, that's probably one of the easier ones. Then there's tag team of the half year.
I personally had the Head Shrinkers. I think they've done a very good job of carrying us through up until this point. I was originally really worried that they were going to be kind of transitional champions and that either they dropped the belts back to the Quebecers or we were going to see Yoko Crush capture them. And they've kind of stayed pretty steadfast as a tag team that really, since Raw has started, has kind of delivered. I mean, they're definitely different from where we were more than a year ago as far as seriousness, maybe, competitive wise. But yeah, I would think I would easily give it to the Head Shrinkers for me.
I wanted to so badly to put Men on a Mission on here
Oh God, you bastard.
because, Mabel deserves at least one award. Unfortunately, I could not. I mean, the Head Shrinkers are kind of turning into what the Steiner Brothers were in terms of maybe your go-to tag team and like
that that's going to deliver.
Yeah, and even their squash matches are going to be entertaining. So
right.
And I think they've actually done very, very well in that spot. I would say a drastically underrated tag team.
Yes.
Comparatively to any other team.
Yes.
The next category here is most hated.
Okay.
So you can interpret this in two different ways.
Yeah.
Most hated in the fans' eyes in terms of like who's the biggest heel, or your personally most hated wrestler.
So I did the second. I did the latter. I did my personally most hated wrestler of the half year. And it was really split between two guys. I think the obvious choice is Bastion Booger.
Really? I think I know who you're picking.
Obvious choice is Bastion Booger, but I ain't picking him. Oh no. How the tables have turned since 1993. Fuck you, Doink, and everything that you stand for. Doink is my most hated guy.
Really?
Oh, dude, hands down. Hands down.
I'm about to say one right now that I think you're going to be like, oh, that's pretty good. Now, I actually gave two answers. Number one, the first one I'm going to give you is the most hated heel, in top level heel. The second one is going to be my personal wrestler that I fucking despise.
Okay.
So in the terms of the fans' eyes, I think it's clearly Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
I would say that's pretty
well, there's nothing likable about him.
Yeah.
I think they genuinely just dislike him.
Yeah. And I mean, Owen could be there at some point, but I think again,
I would still give it to Lawler.
Yeah, Owen's still kind of on the rise in that regard.
Well, and it's funny too that you mentioned this, and not to pull away from your list too much, but I believe it's the second episode, so next week's episode, where I literally see a pro Owen Hart sign. Right. So that just gives you an example right there. There's still people who are backing Owen, whereas Jerry Lawler, I think unanimously is hated by the audience.
And I think you also got to take into a part here that Owen's really good in the ring. Like he has exciting offense. Lawler doesn't really have exciting offense. So that's always going to play a part in it as well.
Yeah.
As for my least, or the most hated wrestler, I'm going to go with Quang.
I knew you were going to.
Yeah. So
here's my argument though. Because sure.
I mean, I hate Doink.
Yeah.
I absolutely do.
Yeah.
But Quang is just really, really bad.
See, Quang pisses me off, but we haven't had to deal with him for very long. Doink has been a cancer now for a while. And I'm like fucking over it. To whereas Quang, you put him out there with Brett, okay, whatever. We know Quang's probably not going to hang around for too long. Doink is fucking here. He's still here. He's still pissing me off every time I see him. And Dink isn't helping. So Dink and Doink can go fuck off.
Well, then you know what? My point is then, if Quang's not going to be around for long, that makes it even worse. Why even have him on TV for as long as you're having him? If No,
that's fair.
With Doink, they've in '93, especially with Matt Bourne, they had an investment,
right?
And they're continuing the investment. And I think Doink does bring positivities to it with his like probably merch sales and other bullshit like that.
Yeah.
So Quang is just a waste of like a year worth of time for anybody else.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I think all three have quite a bit of business in that category of just being fucking shovelware at this point. And Booger's no exception. I mean, we really haven't seen much of him, but he started off 94 and we got our fill.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, all of those guys can just shut up, in my opinion.
Yeah. There's definitely people to hate in WWF 94.
Oh, my God.
No question about it. Most popular.
You're going to be pretty fucking shocked at what I'm about to tell you. Because, again, I went with my personal most popular, my most favorite guy.
Sure.
All around 94. You're not going to like it, Bob.
For the half year.
Yeah. But excluding 93.
Yeah.
You're not going to like it. I know who you think I'm going to say.
Who do you think? Who do you think I think you're going to say?
Owen Hart.
No, for most popular.
For me,
Oh no,
the guy I enjoy most
Razor Ramon,
thus far. No.
Diesel.
I am going
Jim Neidhart.
I'm thinking wrestler of the year. Sorry.
Okay.
Quick backstory. Okay, motherfucker.
Most popular.
Quick backstory. Okay. I had the whole list written down. I had everything ready to go. I lose the fucking paper. Okay. Bear with me here. Yes, you are correct. Diesel, it was, as a matter of fact.
For
He
most
was
popular?
my most liked guy thus far for the half year of 94.
Really?
Not a fan, really. 93 is kind of like he's really trying to figure shit out.
Still has the accent on some of those.
Right. So I'm saying exclusively up to what we've seen this far in 94. For me, Diesel's that atom bomb right now. He's big. He's dominant. He's got a great look. There's so much potential, and they haven't ruined him yet. So I'm still 100% Diesel train. So for me, he's my most popular guy that I enjoy seeing the most at this point.
Okay, I can respect that. I'm still going to go with Brett. I feel like anytime that he's wrestling, there's a seed of doubt of could he win.
Yes.
Aside from when it's Quang. But
Correct.
any other match or any kind of other interaction, there's always kind of like, oh, what can he pull through? And he's always putting forth 150% into his matches.
Yeah.
So whenever I know Bret Hart's about to be wrestling, I'm inclined to check it out. I'm interested in it.
I would agree, and I want to make the point that I think in the fans' eyes, 100% Bret Hart. He gets a reaction that no other guy's getting.
Yeah.
So,
feud of the half year.
That was pretty easy for me. I easily went, although it's still barely unfolding. Owen Brett. I think that has the most interest. It feels the most real, the most important, and has kind of carried us through and really was the story of WrestleMania 10. Despite all the layers, the story is it's brother versus brother. And at the end of the show, one brother celebrating in the ring and the other's kind of scoffing in the aisle. So I think it's super important. I think it's a major feud really of the 90s, I would argue. I think it's a very, what the hell is this? Must be Owen and Brett calling me for putting them over. Yeah, so I just think it's a very important feud in general in the WWF. I think the way it stems from, the way they've built it, it's a slow build, which is what I like. Maybe a little bit more slow than it needs to be, but hands down, that was my pick.
I completely agree with you. I think that's really the only feud that has layers to it and like multiple chapters. So whenever that's happening, I have to appreciate it. And by far, the feud that's getting the most attention to it, most build.
Yeah, and the thing with me is, like, when it comes to storylines, okay, I get, like, oh, Doink's mad and Bam Bam's mad and Doink threw a pie in his face and now they're feuding. Like, okay, I get that. To me, when it stems from realism, there is no substitute.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can really buy into that story, that could happen in real life. You can relate. I think you're already doing yourself, a plethora of favors, as far as booking goes. Because then it's easy. Like, it's easy to sell tickets. With a pie in the face and a clown versus Bam Bam Bigelow, you really got to work hard to make that happen. And really got to work hard, I feel like, to sell tickets on that. So for me, when things stem from realism, there's no substitute.
That's usually the best angles, as you mentioned. So,
yeah.
Match of the half year.
Kind of piggybacking off our conversation here, I went maybe with the obvious choice, Brett versus Owen, WrestleMania 10.
Okay.
That's hands down one of my favorite matches of all time. We've had some great matches though, and that's not to like outshadow any of them. It's just when I think of 94, Brett Owen is one of the ones that just jumps right off my mind's page for that one. But there's been several. Really, really good matches.
I'm going to go with Shawn and Razor from WrestleMania 10. That is
Yep.
one of the few matches where someone could be like, hey, man, go watch Shawn Razor WrestleMania 10. I'd be like, sure, no problem. I've probably watched that match 50 times, maybe 100 times. I've watched it incredible amount. I think a lot of it has to do with, it is a stipulation match, the first pay-per-view ladder match, various things like that. Just a really enjoyable match. Obviously, Owen and Brett is another incredible match for two entirely different reasons. But I'm a sucker, just like I'm a sucker for cage matches. I'm a sucker for a ladder match. You give me a stipulation, I'm probably going to watch it. That's probably why I like WCW 2000 so much. There's 17 stipulation matches on the damn show. So
Nitro.
It's great. Yeah. So I'm a sucker.
You know what, too? And that's such a good argument because, and we've talked about this before, especially with context, that match is so much better. Like when we got up to it, when I sat down to watch WrestleMania 10 for this podcast, first of all, and we've talked about this before, WrestleMania 10 for me is a guilty pleasure as it is. Like I do really enjoy that show. But when I got to that fucking ladder match with the backstory, with the whole build up, dude, it like re-blew my mind again. It was like watching it with a fresh pair of eyes. Fucking great. So good. So I completely agree with you. I don't think there's really any sour grapes on my end as far as, that could also easily be the best match of the half year we've seen.
Yeah,
Same.
Yeah. I had a feeling you were going to go with Owen Brett, and I can't sit here and be like, you're an idiot. It's different from when you were like 1, 2, 3 Kid IRS is the best match at SummerSlam 93. That's entirely different because it was not. Check it out in the archives, folks. SummerSlam 93. He has the balls to sit there and tell me that 1, 2, 3 Kid IRS, the match of the night.
Goddamn right it was.
Oh my God.
Damn right.
Wrestler of the year, of the half year for 1994.
Now, this is the one that I was getting confused with most popular. This is the one that I think is going to surprise you.
Okay.
I'm going.
Yep.
Or do you want to guess? Did you have a guess?
Is it based off of achievements or is it based off of in-ring?
I think it's based off more so in-ring.
Okay. I'm going to go with 1, 2, 3 Kid.
Absolutely.
I knew it.
Absolutely. 1, 2, 3 Kid was my pick. Simply for the fact that lately, man, I can't think of a time where his match wasn't must-see. Like, this motherfucker is doing shit that they don't do for another at least 4 years consistently. If not in 2019. I mean, you put 1994 1, 2, 3 Kid in the ring with somebody 2019 on a New Japan show, he's getting over. He's doing shit that they still fucking do. And not a lot of guys can say that in 94. Absolutely, hands down, pretty much must see. 1, 2, 3 Kid sells his ass off. Fucking hasn't been corrupted yet by anything backstage. Like, he's still young in his career. So he's got a head on his shoulders. And it's just every time he's out there, not only does he take a good ass kicking, but he throws in some good fucking moves. And like, even though he's this wicked small, like young kid, you believe he might beat Bret Hart for the fucking championship. Yeah. Easily. Like, it's not unbelievable, and it should be. So yes, 1, 2, 3 Kid, hands down. That surprises me even saying that, but yeah, that's my pick.
I went with Brett because I'm vanilla and I don't think outside the box. But in the same way, though, you look at it from Royal Rumble 94, him and Owen having a really good match with the Quebecers.
Yep.
And then the build up to WrestleMania 10, and obviously a classic with Owen. And then super underrated and maybe not even justifiably talked about with him and Diesel at King of the Ring 94.
Oh my God, so good.
So he's had a lot of things going on that night. Like, this halfway point for 94 is, you would have thought 93 was the year of Brett, but that was kind of short circuited because of Luger. 94 is shaping up to be the true year of Bret Hart. And I have not been disappointed at all.
Absolutely. And it's funny too, because like obviously, like when I think of the Winged Eagle Championship, I think of Bret Hart.
Sure.
When I think of 1994 as a whole, I think of Bret Hart. Mm-hmm. And really, there's something about Bret right now, like where his confidence is. He's the biggest star they got. He looks fucking phenomenal. He's in great shape. He's so believable in the ring. Like whether he's selling or just little facial expressions, he's such a fucking pro. Dude, hands down, Bret Hart is the man of 94. I would say. I don't think that's arguable. But just for me right now, in ring-wise, like we've seen what Bret can do. 1, 2, 3 Kid surprises me every time I see him.
He does have something new.
Something new. And whether he's taking it or he's dishing it out, something new. So that's what made me go with him. But yeah, I can't argue that. Bret Hart's the fucking man. You look at him, you see his entrance, you see his condition, you see him as the champion. He's the fucking man. There's no question about that.
Yeah. If you guys want to send in your mid-year awards, I'm sure you maybe found this on Facebook on the IcoPod page. Just leave it in the comments. And then in 2 weeks' time, or however long, we can share them. You guys can talk about episode 10 and leave a comment, and we'll talk about it present day and still discuss it. That's the whole point of this podcast. Never feel like you can't approach it with something. Of course, if it's like, what do we think about some independent show from 2019? I mean, let's keep it, real, guys. Okay, come on. But we probably thought it sucked. In case you were wondering.
I mean, yeah, realistically, yeah. That's probably what happened.
Let's go into some observer notes. Jimmy Del Rey, who is one half, of course, of the Heavenly Bodies, will be out for 2 to 4 weeks due to a cracked pelvis. Del Rey got hurt on the June 20th episode of Raw when Russ Greenberg was out of position on a moonsault. That would explain why Sion was teaming with Tom Pritchard on some of the house shows.
Huh. Well, I mean, when you do high-risk shit, those things tend to happen.
Yeah. Damn it, Russ Greenberg.
Yeah, and I don't know. That might derail these guys.
I would have to think so. I mean, you're getting seemingly inserted into a feud with the Head Shrinkers. And now, I know their taping is different, so 2 to 4 weeks could really be like only one Raw taping schedule or whatever. But I would say that's kind of substantial.
Shit, I'm pretty bummed out about that, actually. Because
I don't even know if they'll get a. If you look at the time frame, we're in July 4th.
Yeah.
So 11, 18, 25. Like you're looking at mid-August.
Right.
Before he's even back on television, so they might have to go in a different direction.
Right. Yeah, that bums me out because really, their window wasn't very wide as it is.
Yeah.
Now, fuck. I mean, yeah, that sucks.
It's unfortunate. We're obviously big fans of the Heavenly Bodies, and it looks like we're gonna have to wait a little longer for maybe a Head Shrinkers Bodies match, but maybe it'll be worth the wait if it does in fact happen.
I know. I hope we even get it.
Yeah. Dave Meltzer has a little bit of a paragraph here regarding some rumors spreading out of control, and he wants to set the record straight. So I'll read it verbatim for what he wrote. He writes, just to clarify rumors spreading out of control regarding Davey Boy Smith and Sid Vicious. Smith is currently on a 3-month tour of England, wrestling for a local promoter. He was contacted by Titan, which is, of course, the WWF, about working the September European tour, which goes head-to-head with a WCW tour with Hulk Hogan. So both groups are looking for any edge, and Smith is one of the 2 or 3 biggest draws in Europe. He was only contacted about working that tour and probably will do so. Hulk Hogan reportedly called him about working at the WCW tour, but there are lingering problems over Smith's WCW departure late last year and the burial that he received on the German television announcer's side. The extent of Sid Vicious is simply that Kevin Nash, who of course is Diesel, phoned him, telling him to call the office because they were interested in talking with him. However, Vicious never called the office because he supposedly isn't interested in working there at the present time and would rather work for either All Japan or WCW. And Dave makes sure to point out that Vicious really is playing softball almost every day this summer.
And it's no wonder why he has no interest joining the fucking WWF, because he don't want to give them dates up. I think it's a laugh that he's considering All Japan at this point, because again, how are you playing your softball league if you're in fucking Japan? Sid is such an enigma in pro wrestling. Like, there's so many times where I wonder what was going through Sid Vicious's head. I guess this is one of these times. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know where his priorities were. But as far as Davey Boy, I think that's pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
The fact that, I mean, I was kind of sold on him returning to the WWF sometime soon. So I don't know. Really weird time for guys outside of the company.
For sure. I would definitely want both these guys.
For sure.
In the WWF.
Yeah.
They're two of the biggest stars, and the fact that they're free agents. I mean, if you insert these guys back into the WWF, it gives them substantial depth.
For sure.
At the top of the card.
For sure.
When they drastically need it. And you know damn well that if Sid were to go back to WCW, just a matter of time before Hogan beats him 900 times and then ships him out of town again.
Right. I mean, seriously, like that's what we have to look forward to.
Yeah. And I wouldn't anticipate Davey Boy getting a main event run. Because he would be even below Sting at that capacity. So he's going to be like, what, your TV champion for 5 years? Like, I don't know.
And then at that point, there's really no money.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they would pay him a lot of money, but you're paying a lot of money for a mid-card, for what you're portraying as a mid-card act. Doesn't make any sense.
It would be the Lex Luger condition.
Yeah.
You're over pushing this guy.
Yeah.
He's at this point for Davey Boy Smith, he's mid-card. He ain't your WWF champion.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. Put it this way, if it didn't happen in 92, it ain't happening in 94.
And it didn't even happen in 93 with WCW.
Right.
So that window might have completely evaporated.
I think so.
On to some house show notes. Turns out, since it's a holiday weekend, there weren't any house shows.
Oh.
So tough. Right?
Yeah.
They want to spend time with their families and get drunk.
Yeah, what a bunch of losers.
Dorks.
Yeah.
On to some syndication, because sure, the TV schedule doesn't change on a holiday. Jim Ross made his return to commentary on July 2nd, 1994 edition of Superstars. He was off of television for 5 months, and on the show, he worked with Jerry Lawler, which would be the first time that they ever worked the booth together. So a little fun fact there, because of course, years later, they'd be kind of seen as like
the voices of wrestling.
Yeah, like you ask any casual fan that's in their mid-30s, name me two wrestling commentators, chances are they're going to be like Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross.
Yeah.
And it all started on July 2nd, 1994. On the same episode of Superstars, Doink squared off against my favorite wrestler, IRS. And here's a rundown of what happened. Hopefully you do not fall asleep or turn off the episode. Doink opens up the match with a shoulder block and a couple of scoop slams. IRS is knocked to the floor following a dropkick by Doink. On the floor, IRS stalks towards Dink, who is mocking him. Doink gets a near fall with a sunset flip. IRS gets the upper hand with an elbow strike and slows the match down as per usual. Doink gets out of a headlock by ramming Irwin into the top turnbuckle and nails IRS with a clothesline. Doink nearly wins following a snap suplex moments later. Doink runs into a back elbow, and IRS tries to get his briefcase, but Dink steals it. IRS gets it back, but Doink comes off the apron to deliver a double axe handle. Dink brings the briefcase under the ring. Doink gets a 2 count with a belly-to-belly suplex. IRS gets the win with an inside cradle out of nowhere. Dink rolls the briefcase back into the ring, and IRS decides to open it. He opens it, and there's a mini explosion. And by mini, I mean it was very minor. What did you think of this Doink IRS showdown?
You know, as you were explaining that, I could kind of feel like my blood pressure rising a little bit.
Okay.
Just because, what the fuck? Okay, let's start from the fucking top here. First of all, they're building this matchup. Oh, we're going to start with something big tonight. Okay. This is what's big tonight. All right. Interesting. I will give them credit. And let me just say, too, Doink started things off here. He's got, like, new gear. So maybe he is cheating on his taxes because he could afford new gear. They started off with the pace pretty solid. Like, for these two guys, I was almost starting to get impressed. IRS immediately kills it with his abdominal stretch. The momentum is gone. Like, snores fest after that.
Yeah.
The whole briefcase thing, you know, he steals the briefcase. And as far as the finish goes, in my opinion, a cradle is only successful and should only be successful out of desperation. You don't do it like an inside package or like a cradle as a move. I think it just is awkward. I don't think it like fits. So for that to be the finish, I don't like that at all. And why are we protecting Doink? Does anybody give a fuck about Doink? Whether he wins or loses? No. I guess you could say that for either guy at this point, though. Yeah. And then the little flash paper in the switched briefcase. It's so fucking lame. It's so like, again, wrestle crap stuff. Just, I feel like if they're trying to make a feud out of this, dude, count me the fuck out. Like, I don't want that. I don't get it. I don't get it. What is this? Literally felt like, hey, we have give or take 10 minutes of TV time to fill. What are we going to do? And then you got all the names up on the wall and you throw fucking darts. It's like, okay, Doink. Next one. IRS. Next one. Flash paper in the briefcase.
Boom.
Sounds like a fucking Superstars match to me. So I don't get it. There's no reason for this match. There's no reason for a weird finish. There's no reason for the flash paper thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, why? Why?
I think anytime you have a match involving two of your least favorite wrestlers, the chances of it being entertaining are slim to none.
And not only that, let me go on to record as to say, flash paper doesn't fucking work ever. Like, Nobody's impressed by flash paper. Whether it's fireballs in fucking Mid-South that they're throwing all the time, or whether it's fucking Hogan and Warrior in 98 at Halloween Havoc. Like, flash paper is stupid as fucking wrestling. I don't like it at all. In my opinion, there's no place for that.
Yeah, the first thing I thought of was Hogan Warrior from Havoc 98, where Hogan burns his eyebrows off because he doesn't know what he's doing.
And I feel like it's always fucked up. Like
it is.
I've never seen a good flash paper spot ever.
Well, I'm offended that you would suggest that Mid-South or Memphis would be using flash paper. They're using legitimate fireballs. Asshole.
Right. Well, it's like the Mario thing where he throws fireballs from his hands.
Yeah. It's not hokey bullshit, okay?
Right.
A lot of wrestlers had first-degree burns that, recovered within 7 to 8 days.
Yeah, because it's fucking stupid.
It's real life.
Right.
Okay.
Just like Yoko Claus, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You give me all right here.
He's
You
the
want
best. Yoko Claus is the best thing ever.
tell me this, right? What's more believable, going in there and fighting Yoko Claus for the WWF Championship,
Yeah.
or fucking Eddie Gilbert throwing a fireball in some dude's face?
Eddie Gilbert throwing a fireball in someone's face.
Absolutely fucking not.
Are
And
you
I love
kidding?
Eddie Gilbert. I love Eddie Gilbert. Absolutely not.
Yes.
No.
I've seen one fireball in my life. Like in person.
Was it like the little candy?
No, it was not one of those the spicy cinnamon candies. No. And I don't even know if they're called fireballs. Aren't they like hot balls or something? I can't remember.
No, hot balls are you in the back seat of a car going to a wrestling show in the middle of fucking summer.
Well, that's completely accurate. No, the time I saw it was Jerry Lawler throwing a fireball into some guy's face at the Northeast Wrestling Show in November of last year.
That was fucking horrible, probably.
I mean, that was, but the show was really, really good with Omega and Phoenix. So that was really, really good.
Well, that is irrelevant.
It is. But I've seen that. I haven't seen Yoko Claus in person.
Okay, well, I'd rather.
I can't
And I
judge
fucking hate Yoko Claus.
Yes, you do. You despise him with all of your heart.
I fucking hate it.
Yoko Claus. I hope you get another one.
God damn
It's
it.
coming up Christmas. That'd be fucking great.
No.
Yes, it would. It would be terrific.
Fuck.
That's all this syndication that we have for this week. So let's get right into July 4th, 1994 edition of Monday Night Raw from White Plains, New York. And of course, we are taped because it is a holiday. It is Independence Day. They're not going to have their wrestlers working on this type of day. They would never do that.
No.
We start off the show with Gorilla Monsoon and Randy Savage on commentary. They hype up what we'll see on the show, which includes The Undertaker and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. We go right into our first match of the evening, which is Tatanka taking on Jeff Jarrett. This is, I guess, a rematch from Superstars, which was, I think, a couple weeks ago. They had some decent chemistry on that one.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was actually kind of, when they, this is the opening match, I'm kind of looking forward to this. Although, as soon as Tatanka comes out, dude, first of all, he looks 20 to 30 pounds heavier.
He's let himself go.
Completely. Like, it's visible. Not only that,
you can really see it in his upper body.
Yes. Yeah, kind of like how barrel chested he is now.
Yep, 100%.
Not only that, I feel like a Tatanka match almost used to kind of mean something. I feel like Tatanka don't mean shit now.
We're going to get into that, but I'm going to save it for next week.
All right, well, I'm just throwing that out there because when I'm watching his entrance, like, he's still getting some applause, but like, nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a bummer because that's like one of the best things about Tatanka. At least he was getting pretty good crowd reactions. Like now, no.
Yeah, well, let's just say, before I read the description of the match here, I think it's safe to say that Tatanka's never been a strong in-ring worker.
He needs somebody to hold his hand.
Yeah, he excels when there's other people that are better than him in the ring. And really, the Tatanka character doesn't allow him to show up, I don't know, like a personality or something. Ever since that Chief J Strongbow segment, his career has fallen off a cliff.
Well, I feel like that at that point, as Tatanka playing Tatanka, you're kind of like, okay, this is it. This is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't blame the guy, but fuck, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Well, let me get into the match here. It does get a significant amount of time, so bear with me going through this. Tatanka starts off with a few right hands to start the match, and he sends Jarrett back first into the corner. Tatanka connects with a running power slam for a near fall. Tatanka then drives Jarrett down with a vertical suplex for another 2 count. Jarrett drop toe holds Tatanka and locks in a side headlock to gain the advantage. Tatanka is shoulder blocked by Jarrett after getting out of a sleeper hold. Tatanka is able to arm drag Jarrett and delivers a chop. Side headlock by Tatanka to slow down the match some more. Tatanka shoulder blocks Jarrett and hip tosses Jeff. Tatanka goes back to a side headlock and proceeds to keep the hold on for several moments. Jarrett gets out, but is met with an overhand chop as he's going to leapfrog Tatanka. Jarrett recovers and tosses Tatanka over the top to the floor. Jarrett leaps off the apron and double axe handles Tatanka on the floor. Jarrett rams Tatanka back first into the ring apron. Jarrett comes off the apron again with a double axe handle and again rams Tatanka back first into the ring apron. Tatanka blocks a second double axe handle by punching Jarrett in the chest. Jarrett is able to shove Tatanka into the ring post, shoulder first. Jarrett rolls into the ring and ends up winning by countout. But wait a second. Jarrett grabs a microphone and says that he wants to beat Tatanka 1, 2, 3. He also rips on Randy Savage and demands the match to be restarted. And the match is restarted as we go to a commercial.
So really quick right there, I'm going to go out on a limb and say anytime you do that, and anytime, you get this, no, I don't accept that finish. I keep the match going. I feel like it's a giveaway that whoever's doing the restarting of the match is going to fucking lose. So okay, Jeff Jarrett wants the match restarted. Well, he's going to fucking lose then. I feel like it's such a wrestling cliche, and I'm sure there's cases where, they restart the match and then they get the clean win and blah, 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 whatever. But I don't know, man. I don't like that. Why even do it? You're giving away the finish.
Yeah, more times than not, whenever, especially a heel, is I don't want to win that way. I want to win it the right way, or I want to beat them. They end up not being able to do so.
It's so annoying.
But would that happen here? Tatanka battles out of a side headlock, but is met with a back elbow as he comes off the ropes. Jarrett goes for the cover, but is only able to get a 2 count. Jarrett controls Tatanka with another sleeper hold. Tatanka bows out of it, and he has a sleeper on Jarrett until Jarrett rams Tatanka back first into the corner. Jarrett sends Tatanka into a corner and nails him with a clothesline for a 2 count. Jarrett ducks a wild clothesline, and guess what? He puts a sleeper on Tatanka again. Tatanka begins to fade and drops down on the mat as the fans get behind him. Tatanka prevents his arm from dropping 3 times and begins to get to his feet. Tatanka starts to go on a warpath as Jarrett rams Tatanka headfirst into the turnbuckles. Tatanka with a few overhand chops and gets a 2 count. Jarrett runs into a big boot in the corner, and then Tatanka plants Jarrett with a DDT, but only gets a near fall. Jarrett tries to leave, but Tatanka rolls Jarrett back into the ring and comes off the top, connecting with an overhand chop and covers Jarrett, but Jarrett's able to get his foot on the bottom rope. Jarrett rolls to the floor and heads to the backstage area. However, Dink is behind Jarrett, and he squirts water into his face. Doink comes down, and he chases Jarrett with a bucket. So Jarrett rolls into the ring to avoid the bucket and is rolled up by Tatanka, who gets the 3 count. So Jarrett screwed himself over here. What did you think of this opening match?
Okay. Before I get into that, so Jeff Jarrett needs to get rid of his top and just wear long tights. He would look so much better with just the long tights, because the top is fucking ridiculous. And every time I see him, that's all I can think of. And I want to just not think of that. So can you just do it? That's my first request.
So you're saying get rid of the top and just have long trunks on?
Exactly.
He's trying to stand out, man.
Oh, he does, for all the wrong reasons.
Oh, okay.
So, aside from that, Jeff Jarrett aggressive, Jeff Jarrett determined, Jeff Jarrett not feuding with Doink has my attention.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested. I want to watch Jeff Jarrett stuff. And this match wasn't horrible. I mean, there was lulls, and there was times where we were in a 2-minute fucking, supine headlock on the mat. But at the same time, I think these two do really work together. I think they have chemistry in the ring. And like we talked about before, I think Jeff's one of those guys that is able to kind of carry Tatanka through as far as being the guy to hold his hand. But dude, as soon as you do like I want to do this the right way, and then here comes fucking Dank, squirts him with the flour. Doink comes out, chases him back to the ring with a bucket of water. We get the fucking roll up win. Clowns are laughing at Jarrett. It's just like, dude, every time I like something, they do two things to make me hate it. It's like you could almost bet that if I like something right now, in a couple months, I'm gonna fucking hate it. And I'm afraid like shit's gonna happen with Diesel, and it's like it's already happening with Jarrett. Like I said, there's reasons to like and want to see Jeff Jarrett, but they're completely peeling those away when they do insert like a cockamamie finish or Doink the Clown coming out with a water bucket to scare him back up the ramp. I don't think Tatanka needs the victory here. I think Jeff Jarrett does. And I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get why they're continuing with this fucking Doink bullshit. Doink should not be a featured attraction at all. On Superstars, maybe. But yeah, that's just kind of where I was at with it. I didn't. It's almost like the last couple of minutes ruined it for the rest. Really.
Doink is the career killer.
And it sucks. It sucks.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because like Jarrett I remember when Jarrett came in with all those vignettes. And sure there was 9 of them, but like the first 3 or 4, we were digging it. And they extended that too long.
Yeah.
And now with like with his wrestling, and we got annoyed with having trouble with enhancement guys.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like he's got poor attire. And the only really positive out of this so far has been his attack on 1-2-3 Kid after their match at King of the Ring.
Yeah.
Where he showed like fury and he was pissed off.
Yes.
That's really been the only thing. As for this match, I mean, it was okay. The sleeper hold, that was starting to annoy the shit out of me.
Oh my God.
Because they just continually went back to it. And it just slowed the match down so much. And I mean, I know they had significant amount of time to fill, and I don't think Tatanka is the type of guy to work, a 12-minute match without any rest holds. But it just got to a point where it was excessive and kind of took me out of the match for a little bit. And the finish, of course, with Dink and all that, I'm not a fan of it.
It just cheapens everything. It's so cheap. It's so carny.
I can't even consider it a good win for Tatanka. I think Tatanka needs a good win, considering that he's kind of been floundering for a while now. Yeah. And sure, he got the win, but it's off a distraction. The focus isn't on him. It's really on Doink, Dink, and Jarrett and that feud for whatever purpose it's going on for.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, because now that you mention it, if anything, I feel like it hurts Tatanka. Like, he's the footnote for Doink, Dink, and Jeff Jarrett.
Yep.
Like, holy fuck. Tell me that in 93 back a year ago. I wouldn't have believed that.
No.
I mean, shit.
Well, back in 93, we would have been like, who the hell's Dink?
Well, yeah.
But I get your point. Moving on here, a video promoting next week's WWF World Championship match between Bret Hart and 1-2-3 Kid is aired. And that leads us right into Jerry Lawler, and he's standing in the ring for the weekly segment of King's Court. Lawler introduces his guest, which is 1-2-3 Kid, but at first, Lawler insults 1-2-3 Kid. Kid makes his way down to the ring, where Lawler tells Kid not to worry about being nice to the fans because that means absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Lawler hypes up next week's match between 1-2-3 Kid and Bret Hart for the WWF World Championship. He tells Kid that he's going to be rooting for him mainly because Lawler hates Bret Hart. Kid makes it clear that he doesn't hate Bret, but is rather a big fan of his. Lawler is trying to convince Kid to get a mean streak. Kid believes he doesn't deserve to be in the WWF if he had an attitude like Jerry Lawler. Lawler tells Kid that Hart isn't going to fall for any tricks. Kid isn't going to do any cheap shots, but is rather going to give 110% and hope that a mistake by Bret Hart happens. Kid says that if he wins the WWF World Championship, he will be doing it for himself and not for Jerry Lawler. And that's all that Kid has to say before departing the ring. What did you think of this King's Court, which is pretty much just promoting next week's match between Kid and Bret Hart?
I liked it, but I didn't. I don't like that 1-2-3 Kid still does the Mr. Lawler, Mr. Bret Hart. Like, I think Kid's kind of past that. He's kind of proved his own. I don't think he needs to keep doing that. And you know, I get that it's like a tie-in with the character. He's a young kid. He's fighting all these guys. But at the same time, I just feel like he's grown past that. So I wish he wasn't doing that. Because it kind of makes him come off like a jabroni a little bit. Like he's still an enhancement guy, which he's not. He's not. So, I mean, other than that, I think it was fine. I was super expecting Lawler to like deck 1-2-3 Kid when he turns his back to leave or whatever. Because it's like he keeps goading him. He's like, you don't get it. Like, I want you to win. Do it for me. And Kid keeps going like, no, I'm not going to do it for you. So I was fully expecting Lawler to like hit him again or something. But no, like the segment just ends. And it's kind of weird because Lawler, I almost feel like every King's Court, like something has happened. And this was really just an interview. So I thought that was a little weird, but it is what it is. I am looking forward to that match next week. I think these two are going to fucking tear the house down. And who knows? Can you really buy that 1-2-3 Kid might dethrone Bret? I mean, you can't say absolutely no because look at the guys he's beaten. Beats Razor in his fucking prime out of nowhere with a moonsault. Is it likely? No. Is it possible? Yeah. So I am looking forward to that.
I hated this segment largely because 1-2-3 Kid came across as a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah, I just don't think like his talent and the repertoire of moves and just who he's beaten. And he's been here for a little while now. So I don't think he needs to be doing that anymore.
No, for as good as he is in the ring, he's equally as bad on the microphone.
Yeah, it just comes off very forced. There's nothing natural about 1-2-3.
Yeah, it's very like unsure of what to say, kind of stuttering. And for me, I want someone that has that confidence and knows what they're what they want to do. And he's just kind of like, well, I mean, I don't know, like maybe I could do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. He came across as a child.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really a good selling point for me.
No, I agree. I think 1-2-3 Kid, it's best to just let his talking be done in the ring. Especially when you're going in there against Bret Hart. I mean, Bret's not going to be fucking around, so I don't think this was the best way to hype us for next week. I think they could have done something completely different and that would have been much better.
Yeah. They should have figured something out.
Yeah.
But let's go into our second match of the evening. And it's Jim the Anvil Neidhart taking on Gary Scott. As you would expect, Neidhart has virtually no problem with poor Gary Scott here. And he wins the match following a running power slam. Just a simple enhancement match. Neidhart's back in the company. They're apparently going to push him in a singles role. So this is something that you have to do to kind of give an idea of what he can even do in the ring to begin with. I know I'm not looking forward to Jim Neidhart, the singles wrestler. Did this change your maybe anticipation for what he could do in a singles role?
Not really. And really quick here, we did get a Razor Ico Pro ad before this match. It's really the only one they keep showing, which is kind of annoying because we know there's different ones.
There's at least 5 or 6. That they
yeah. So they just kind of keep going with that one. But as far as the match here, I mean, not really. It's really the same anvil, same anvil we've seen before. You know, it's slow feats of power, power slam for the win. Match goes a little bit long for a squash, in my opinion, but I mean, Jim looked decent. Am I interested in him in a singles capacity at all? No. Am I interested in him as a sidekick? Yeah, sure. But I mean, it is what it is here. I don't think the spotlight should be on Jim the Anvil Neidhart. I don't
No.
think I don't think people really necessarily care. It's more or less he's a tool for Owen at this point. So it is what it is. At least we got to see Owen. He was hamming it up, saying, my favorite thing is when they'll chant, we want Brett. And Owen's like, yeah, we do too. Come on out, Brett. Where are you? We want Brett too. He like goes with the chant with him. So he's so quick on his feet. And I think having him there, unlike maybe a Johnny Polo or something, he adds to the match just because the match is Jim Neidhart.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have an interest in Jim breaking off from Owen anytime soon. So,
Yeah, if he stays the muscle, I could probably tolerate him.
yeah,
And if Owen's heel run fizzles out, I could tolerate them as a heel tag team, probably.
sure.
But on his own, or maybe him trying to be like the main focus is something I could not get behind.
No.
Let's go to our third match of the evening. It's Duke the Dumpster Droese taking on Iron Mike Sharp. This is the definition of an extended squash match because it's not a complete domination by Droese. There's a few spots here by Sharp, but all that really matters for Droese is that he wins the match following a simple standing elbow drop. What do you think of the garbage man?
Not a whole lot.
Okay.
Really quick here, Savage congratulates Gorilla Monsoon for being inducted into the WWF Hall of Fame, which I thought is pretty cool. Becomes kind of a standard moving forward. As far as this match, I can tell you two people who aren't in the fucking WWF Hall of Fame. That would be Iron Mike Sharp and Duke the Dumpster Droese.
Yeah.
And there's a very, very good reason for that. I couldn't tell if this squash match was for Duke or if it was for Iron Mike. Because it was basically 50-50 for most of it. Duke, so just,
it was weird. I mean, I know Sharp Sharp had a decent run in like the late 80s, but at this point he probably shouldn't be competing at that level with a guy like Josie. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. If anybody needs like a solid squash match quick, it's Duke.
Yeah.
He just comes off as really clumsy. He's like stumbled on slams. Just you can kind of tell that he's not ready. It's just kind of looking like a joke. Like you're getting beat up by Iron Mike Sharp. You win with a spinning elbow finish.
He's your everyday garbage man.
Yeah, but like that's nice, but
he's not a wrestler. He's your everyday garbage man fighting for his life.
I don't get it. I don't get it. It's not good. It's not.
No, I'm not a fan of the dumpster.
Like what?
Dude, Jesse.
How many kids? Like, what do you think the percentage is of the audience that was there live in White Plains, New York? What do you think the percentage is that strictly, they came to see Duke the Dumpster Droese?
Nobody.
Nobody.
There's no way.
No way. I don't care if his family's there.
Even the family's probably like can't wait to see the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like it's wasted TV time. You're wasting it. There's no interest. I don't think Duke's over.
No.
He doesn't get a pop.
I think it's funny that Duke Droese has a job and then Sid Vicious and Davey Boy Smith are at home just hanging out.
Insane. It's insane.
Or like, Marty Jannetty's not there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's mind-boggling. It really is. You know what? Fuck. Bring back Damien goddamn Demento.
He is back. He's on the house shows.
There you go. Throw his ass on TV instead of this jabroni.
Let's do it. Where's Greg the Hammer Valentine?
Oh, God, no. I wouldn't take him.
Come on. Valentine got a huge pop at the Royal Rumble. People were so bummed when he got eliminated.
Yeah, he was going for the strap.
Yeah. And then he would get the strap if he came back.
Right. But, yeah, dude, I'm not a fan. If you're getting your ass beat by Iron Mike Sharp on Raw, you probably fucking suck. So, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, it's probably how the audience even looked at it as well. We get a video promoting the new generation. Again, this is the new generation that has Nikolai Volkov, Jim Neidhart now, and countless other men in their mid to late 40s. But that's okay. It's a new generation.
Yeah, and I got to be honest. So this is the one where, it's the kid and his dad. They're walking backstage. They see Bret Hart walking down the tunnel, right? Dad tells him, oh, quiet. He's getting ready for his big match. So they're standing there watching Bret. The kid yells out Bret's name. Bret does the zoom in, turn around, walks back down, gives the kid his glasses, exits out into the arena for his entrance. Oh, go get him, champ. This is, in my opinion, one of the most iconic WWF videos that I can recall from childhood. And every time I see it, it gives me goosebumps because I'm a huge Bret Hart guy. And I feel like I was that kid. So I always love this little thing. And it's especially iconic for Bret because I feel like they put it in his entrance video. And anytime you see a highlight package of Bret Hart, they use this footage. I'm sure everybody listening to this knows exactly what I'm talking about, but I fucking love this video.
Isn't it like a knockoff from the football player one?
Which one?
I want to say it's like a Steelers player. And he's in the hallway and he gives a towel to the kid.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. See, I wouldn't know.
I want to say it's influenced from that.
Oh,
I could be wrong.
That kind of bums me out though. That kind of takes away from it a little bit that it's not an original.
Yeah, I don't think it is an original.
Oh shit. Well, still, dude, in my opinion, fuck.
Well, but it is. It's for sure. It's for sure a memorable package.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
Bret Hart's the fucking man.
Yeah.
So.
I think I can agree with that. Let's go to the main event of this episode. It is the Undertaker taking on Mike Bell. As you would expect, absolute domination by the Undertaker. And he's able to win the match following a tombstone pile driver. After the match, Paul Bearer comes down with his urn and he tries to regain control of the Undertaker. Taker just stares at Bearer as Raw goes to commercial. Back from break, DiBiase grabs some cash and he's able to convince the Undertaker to stay with him and not go with Paul Bearer. Pretty big indicator here for me that the Undertaker is not the real Undertaker because this fake Taker guy has a little bit of a gut. And there is one camera angle in which they quickly cut away from where it was hanging loose for 2 seconds. And I was like, Undertaker, he does not have a gut. Brian Lee has a gut, though. And he showcased it right there. But that's how I felt about it. What did you think of this whole Undertaker segment with DiBiase and Paul Bearer?
It's funny because think of it this way. So you're in a nightclub, right? And you've had a couple of drinks, but you keep seeing this really pretty girl on the dance floor. And you're really into it. You're feeling it. You've gone up and you've gotten the courage to talk to her. Yeah. Really cool, And then slowly they start bringing the lights up because it's last call. And she's just getting progressively uglier as the lights come on.
Yeah.
And then once they're on, you're like, this could be a creature from the Black Lagoon, maybe, that I'm talking to. That's what's happening here. The lights are coming on fake Undertaker. Because every time we see him, it gets a little shittier and a little shittier. So for me, the first time we saw him, Holy shit, I could believe that. Now that we're like 5 appearances deep, nah, I ain't buying it.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because there's guys in the crowd that are standing yelling, "This is fake. You're a fake." So it's like the crowd has turned. Like they fucking know.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because so they start the match. Ted DiBiase gets Undertaker's gear all off or whatever. And they kind of show his face briefly. And again, it kind of looks like him. But as soon as they pull out to that body, you know it's not him.
Yeah.
You know it's not him. There's specific movements. The way he hits the jumping clothesline that looks like shit. Like, you know that's not the Undertaker. Come on. So could it have worked 2-3 weeks? Maybe. Superstars with maybe 1 or 2 Raw appearances? Maybe. Now it's like obvious. It's obvious. To the crowd, the local crowd, it's obvious. And that's when you know you're in trouble. Like, it's not just the people at home thinking it, it's the live crowd saying it. So that's kind of where we're at with it. This Taker just feels really awkward. I feel like you can tell he's trying to play the Undertaker, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not Undertaker being a gimmick. It's a guy trying to play the Undertaker gimmick. So I don't know. I don't think this is a moneymaker either. And they're really pushing it. They're making this like a premier angle. And now I guess what? They're calling Ted's group the corporation?
Yeah, I think that was mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, Gorilla drops that line in there, which I don't really like. Taker does a drop toe hold. Like, he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's not an Undertaker move. And you could just tell, like, the crowd was getting restless. The interest died out quick. You get the tombstone finish. The following is just really hokey. Like, sure, it fits with the Undertaker lore, but, like, come on. Really, really believe that, oh, the cash is, like, he turns around, finishes stuffing the guy in the body bag. Like, nobody fucking believes that. Nobody.
You know what's funny to me is that the crowd obviously knows that it's not the real Undertaker, but Paul Bearer still thinks it's the real Undertaker.
Yeah, and it's just like, I feel like that's one of the things that really kind of kills it for me.
If a fan is sitting there saying that it's fake and then he sees Paul Bearer, I'd be sitting there going like, does Paul Bearer not know his own guy? Because that's not the guy.
I know.
You know what I mean? So
it just, I think you're right. I wish he would have played it from the beginning as like, no, I know that's not Undertaker.
yeah.
And like Ted's like, no, it really is.
Because then it could cast doubt because some fans would be like, no, it is.
Yes.
But if he's like acting like it is the Undertaker and then everybody's like, no, there's no way.
I know. It like,
that might
yeah.
cast more doubt.
Exactly. Exactly. It does the opposite of what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you. I think at this point, continuing this feud is just like letting the dog bleed out. Like, just fuck SummerSlam. Just take this shit out. Because it's starting to stink the place up.
Yeah, we're both over it and we still have to watch the match.
Yeah.
So we're about like 8 weeks away, folks.
Thanks, Domino's, you pieces of shit.
Yeah, bastards. God damn it. To wrap up the episode, we go backstage where Jerry Lawler catches up to Ted DiBiase. Lawler asks DiBiase to be his guest on King's Court next week, and he tells DiBiase that instead of being in the ring, Lawler will come to DiBiase. DiBiase accepts because he is used to being around royalty. So next week, basically what we're getting is 1-2-3 Kid and Bret Hart for the WWF World Championship, and also Jerry Lawler going to Ted DiBiase for King's Court. So that wraps up this episode of Raw. I wish I could sit here and say that I enjoyed the episode. I wish I could say that. Tatanka and Jarrett isn't like bad. It's just very, very middle of the road, and that's probably being generous.
I would describe it as fine.
Yeah, but
not
like
great, not bad, just fine.
It's
fine, man.
It's fine, just like your girlfriend or wife saying it's fine.
Yes,
but like it's not really fine, but it's like fine.
Right.
So take that as you will.
Mm-hmm.
The 1, 2, 3 kids segment really kind of that hurts the build for me a little bit. Obviously, fake Undertaker, not interested. Not interested in Jim Neidhart. I'm not interested in Duke Droese. So my interest level on anything that happened on here was like an all-time low. I didn't really care for what they were dishing out to me this week.
I agree with you. I think for me, this episode did go by quick, but I think that's because I was just excited to sit down and watch stuff again. It had been a while, and I'm always coming back with a fresh pair of wheels. So burning through this episode didn't feel too bad. But if you're on like a binge, the last 3 weeks, folks, have been pretty fucking rough.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. No real featured matches. It was mostly squashes, a lot of enhancement talent. Especially for like a holiday episode. I feel like you'd want to pump out a little bit more star power to hopefully grab a couple viewers while they're cooking out the hot dogs and hamburgers. But I mean, I guess maybe that's the point. They figure people are outside not watching Raw.
Yeah, I think that is the point, that they know that not a lot of people are going to be watching it, so they're not going to give off all the big shit. That's probably why they wouldn't do Kid and Bret Hart right here. You know what I mean? Like they're going to want a bigger audience for that.
Right. And I get that, but at the same time, for your weekly viewers who are dedicated, you should almost be like throwing them a bone for tuning in. Yeah. Give us a good fucking little match on Raw to make us be like, wow, I'm glad I tuned in on the fucking 4th of July. Not the opposite. But it is what it is. It's not the worst we've seen, but is it skippable? Abso-fucking-lutely. It is.
Yeah.
So that's where I was at with it this week.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely a skippable episode. Kind of a bummer one. But I think next week's just alone with Bret and Kid, that should be, I would imagine, a really, really good match. So.
It feels big.
It does for a Raw title match.
Yeah.
I mean? Like there has been substantial promotion into it.
Right.
Although, I mean, it started off weird because I don't know why Nikolai Volkov would even be anywhere near sniffing towards the title. And then he was somehow in a number 1 contenders match that came out of absolutely nowhere.
No.
But, if it gets us a good Bret Kid match, I mean, that's all that really matters, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take it. I am, like you said, I think I'm looking forward to next week. I am still looking forward to SummerSlam. They've already kind of announced some dates for the SummerSlam Sizzler tour.
Yeah.
Which I think lately they've been kind of killing it with these little house show tour names.
The WrestleMania Revenge Tour was, I would say, fairly successful.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of cool. I'm glad they're kind of beefing it up on that front because I think that, moving forward, going into the mid and late 90s, they're going to really, really kind of shift the dynamic for those. So it's kind of cool to see like the genesis of the house show kind of come back into major prominence. So that's cool. They're doing that. I am looking forward to SummerSlam. I think there's a lot of stuff that they're building to that I like. They've cooled off the Razor and Diesel stuff quite a bit, but like I still fully expect them to fight at SummerSlam. I'm expecting Bret Owen at SummerSlam, and those 2 matches alone, I'm fucking sold. So we'll see. We'll see how we get there, but man, this journey better start shaping up, or I'm fucking shipping out.
Well, we have to at least get to 95 because that's when the real fun starts on this roller coaster journey. Austin, do you have anything else for episode 83? Or I'm sorry, 82.
Yeah, get your shit right, dude. I think this episode wraps it up here. We did the mid-year awards, which I think are important, and it's always kind of funny to go back, especially once we get to the end of the year, and see how different our list is, because it will be, most definitely. To the new listeners, if you've just recently joined us on Facebook, because about 100 of you did, as of this recording, share us around. Check out our Redbubble store. Share us with your friends. Talk about us. Leave us some comments. Shoot us an email. Welcome. You got a lot of listening to do. We are, as Bob said, 82 episodes in, and it's an easy listen. You know, it's not something that you're going to have to really sit down and focus on. Throw us on in the background and enjoy. Hopefully you enjoy our banter because we enjoy doing this. So I just wanted to make that shout out as well.
Yeah, if you guys did like us on Facebook, we appreciate the support. And like Austin just said, we're a good listen if you go on a long car ride.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to work. I know Johnny B from England sometimes will listen to us going into work, and sometimes he might get in a car accident because we're making him laugh so much. That's not our fault. I believe the kid that got hit by that bus a couple of months ago was actually listening to IcoPod.
I'm pretty sure Johnny Smith hit him.
Yeah.
But we don't make
That's
assumptions here.
That's why Johnny hasn't commented recently, because he's serving 15 to 20 years in prison.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't carry insurance for that kind of thing.
No.
But if you got some spare time, throw us on and give us a listen. And obviously you have, and hopefully you didn't regret it. And if you did, you can join Doink, and you can join Besh and Booger, and you can join Quang, and fuck off.
Yeah, for the most hated listeners on IcoPod. But if that's all, Austin, I have nothing else to discuss. So why keep you here any longer? For Austin Skinner, I'm Bob Collier Jr., and this has been another disappointing episode of IcoPod.
You gotta hear it.